friends,
Hello.
welcome back. How have you been? It's been a few weeks. Let us know. How have you been?
Yeah,
Yeah, same,
up and down.
same. I did mention it in the home video that was posted last week that it's just kind of been a little bit of a hard season for grief, and so we've just taken a few weeks to move slower and be restful. And so yeah, here we are. We're back. So grab a cup and join us. And your official, unofficial, not sponsored ad of this is I am drinking these this morning, which are just, I got these a past couple weeks ago, and they're really good. They're kind of like the iced coffee things, like Starbucks does, and some others, which I've never loved. They're kind of, I'll get the job done. Like if I'm traveling, they're better than hotel coffee. So that's kind of my standard. And Dutch Bros actually came out with one. So my husband got one, and I was like, well, maybe better than Starbucks, but not good. But this one is actually like it's really good, and it's better for you. Like it doesn't got the same like fake garbage. It's 13 grams of protein, so I call that a win. Anyway, that's your ad. Hashtag ad of the video. So yeah, here we go. Let's dive in. So we were just sitting here chatting about motherhood, and we thought we'd have a conversation with you guys of just like maybe what are some things about motherhood that has surprised us, and so we'd love to hear from you in the comments. What's something that surprised you about motherhood? So I mean, I think if we're kind of starting with the young baby season. For me, I wanted to be a mom since I was a little girl, like kindergarten. I'm telling my teacher I want to be a stay-at-home mommy, and I just thought that it would be so wonderful. I loved my stay-at-home mommy, and I thought, oh, this is gonna be perfect. It's what I want to do my whole life. And so, got married and very quickly started having babies, and became a stay-at-home mom. I was able to fulfill that dream, which was such a blessing. But it was a lot harder than I expected. Like, a lot harder. I think it really surprised me how hard it is to be a stay-at-home mom. Yes, a lot of work, but it wasn't so much the work. It was the lack of accomplishing anything. When you go to a job, you get coworkers or bosses or even customers in your job that like, thank you. They appreciate you. You complete a task and you can see that it's done. You also get a paycheck for like your hours worked. And so there's so many things that like validate and reward. And as a mom, like you do the dishes, guess what? There's more dishes 5 minutes later. You do the laundry, you do the laundry. Change the diapers. Like it all is this like never ending cycle that you can't ever really see it as being done. Mm-hmm. And I think that with the lack of social was actually really hard. Mm-hmm. That transition. I didn't expect.
I think same. I was a stay-at-home mom too. I came out of the gate. That's what I wanted, and lack of social that wasn't a thing for me. I loved a lot of it, but I'm with you on the to a degree. And I think I was coming from a different place too, because you had worked, you had experienced more, where I came from just finishing school, my mom's house, to married and with babies. And so I didn't have that comparison. And so for me, like I think I got a lot, especially those early years, I got a lot more fulfillment out of the
redundancy of motherhood.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely agree with you on the dishes are never done. Mm-hmm. The laundry is never done. The diapers never, especially when you have babies, ding, 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 ding. The diapers are never done. Yeah. But, I was going to say something and I just completely lost it.
Oh, no.
Not happens. But
Well,
go ahead.
so yeah, early motherhood.
Yeah.
Interject as soon as you remember. But
yeah.
Early motherhood. I think for me, a lot of it was that adjustment. But there is also some. I don't know. I think that there's the normal surprises of motherhood that are really good. So I don't want to just be like, this is our burn book list of all things we hate about motherhood. Because there is something so incredibly wild about growing a human and feeding the human, like what our bodies are capable of doing. And I think I was surprised by how much it improved my confidence, and not like because you can find like in job title, right? You can be like, well, my kids give me fulfillment because now I'm a mom and that's my identity. And I'm not seeing in that, although I did go through a season of like kind of miscategorizing my identity with what I did. I am a mother, but it's not all of me, right? It's not who I am. It's one of the things I do. And but no, the fulfillment of or the confidence. Guys, I am struggling so hard this morning. Confidence that comes from, I think, when your body does something like that, that's just so mind-blowingly amazing, and not everyone gets the opportunity to do. I think it builds this confidence. Like, I grew that. I fed that. And like as I grow up, even it's like I helped shape that. I helped mold that. That I think gives me more comfort and confidence in who I am that I didn't expect to feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think when I think of the early years, those are the big takeaways for me.
And I think the biggest surprise for me on those early years were, when you're in the thick of it, it can seem like never ending. Like they're never gonna get independent. They're never gonna.
Yeah.
But what surprised me is really how quickly it happens.
Yeah.
How quickly they move from being dependent on you from every single thing to they're fully, they're standing there with their hands on their hip telling you how it is. They've got opinions and they can do things for themselves. And so I think that surprised me because I don't think it fully surprised me until, obviously after
looking
the
back
fact.
A little bit,
yeah. Like just how much of a blink it really is.
Yeah.
Because it is in the grand scheme of our life. They say we get 18 summers, right? And that's fast.
Yep. Well, and I feel like you have all the old people. Especially when babies are young, they are constantly like, "Oh, it goes fast. Soak up the moments, appreciate it." And you're like, "Oh." And like now that all my babies are not little babies anymore, I look at little babies and I'm like, "Oh, just soak it up. Like, just soak it up." And I try really hard not to say it because I felt really annoyed by it when I was a young mom. And so if it's a pet peeve of your own, I don't want to perpetuate it.
Right.
There are probably a lot of people who don't mind, but I was one of the people who minded. So, but I think and then for you, like, you get this like pulled back view of it once you're kind of not in the middle, and you go, "Wow, like that was really hard, or that was really challenging, or it was really exhausting, or even beautiful and fun," and just like, but it goes so quick, and to be able to look back and go, "Okay."
Well, and another surprise, like you said, with that pulled back view is, you get, as a young mom, you can get so caught up in making sure you're doing all the right things and you're making these moments happen and
Yeah.
teaching these lessons and you're imprinting on them.
Yeah.
And surprise, when they grow up, they remember things that weren't even a blip on your radar. And things that you thought were like a big deal, and you're like, no, don't you remember?
Also not
don't
a
you
blip.
remember? And they're, no, like I have no memory of that whatsoever.
I worked so hard on that. Are you kidding me?
So
yeah. Yep. That's so funny. Yeah, we definitely had those conversations over the last like 5 years or so.
Yeah.
Of the different things. It's like, wait a minute. So then I think, like that's little babies. And so moving into kids season, Um, I I think one thing I didn't expect was how hard it is to transition from baby to kid. Like I had, you always have your thoughts and your opinions, guys. And my best piece of advice, it's the piece of advice I followed for the most part, and I'm so thankful on a regular basis I did, is have your thoughts and opinions on how other people are parenting their kids, but don't voice them. Like, just don't speak them out loud, because odds are you're going to end up doing the same thing or something very similar. And if you just don't voice it, then nobody needs to know. But no, like I, knew moms and stuff that just did all the housework. And they did all the chores and they did all the things, and they just kind of always took care of the kids. And the kids never really, I felt like at the time I was like, oh, they're not learning to be independent, and you're doing all this work, and you just need to give them chores. Like, they need to learn their responsibilities. And then it took, probably several years into my oldest being old enough to start taking on chores. Because even little guys, like, they can start little, and you can give them any little task. I have a friend her kids the younger ones dust the baseboards. Like, it's not the end of the world if they don't do a great job, but it teaches them to participate and do chores. So yeah, my oldest was probably like 6 or 7, probably 7, before my husband was like, babe, it's time. You need to start giving them chores. And I was like, they're so little. They're little babies. They're just a baby. And it was actually really hard to make that transition. And even, I would say just in the last 8 months or so, I think learning in my season of grief to, or season of heavy grief, because I don't think we're not going to be grieving.
Yeah.
But in my season of heavy grief, I had to just let things go. And just things started falling apart, and I had to kind of lean on my kids and be like, can you help me do this job? I can't do it today. And it's really shown me how smart and capable they are. And I think it's built their skill set and their confidence in what they can do. And so I'm really finding myself transitioning to less of a caregiver, more of a, I get me in trouble, but manager. But really,
right.
Like more and more of the tasks and more of my household chores I'm doing to them. And now my job is to supervise them and to teach them how to do it, and to make sure the job's getting done right, and come alongside them in that, so that they have those skills as well.
Right. I was just going to say, I know some people would look at that and oh, you're just turning your kid into your slave. And it's like, well,
isn't that what you have them?
Isn't that wrong? No. No, but you're like, there's no better way to prepare your kids for adulthood than by having them do adult things, do the things that they're going to have to do when they get grown. And your dad had, and I don't know where he got it. I don't know if he made it up, or I don't know if I've never heard it anywhere but from him. But he always said, children will rise to the level of expectation that you put upon them. And right now, I have my original copy of Little House on the Prairie that my parents bought me when I was 7. And I picked that up the other day, and I started reading, and I was like, I just want something light. And reading through that, and looking at those little kids, and the expectation that they put on them, and they did it. They were, and so, anyways, I kind of have a trail,
good trail.
But yeah, I think there's absolutely, I think that we do our kids
a disservice.
I mean, come on, we all know those grown kids out there that they don't know how to manage their money at all. They don't
clean a home.
How to clean a home. They don't know how to make their bed. They don't know how to do laundry. So I think those are absolutely
it's life skills. And I think that kind of where that shifts is so much of life is less about what you're doing and more about the motive and the reason behind what you're doing. And I think when it comes to having my kids step in and do things in the home, I could just be like, go do it, and I'm gonna set you free. And it's not my problem. And that's more of a now I'm just doing it because I don't want to do the work.
Right.
Versus
just
like
barking the orders at
Mhm.
them versus
yeah,
teaching
versus like
them.
I'm going to teach you how to do this. This is an important skill, and so we're gonna, and I think there should be rewards. So one thing I did, and again we're rabbit trailing here, but I found an app that I really liked. That I set up all the chores, and it's like it refreshes daily, and they get points, and we kind of have an allowance system that's kind of if you're a regular participant of our family responsibilities, you get this money every month to spend, just because we get money when you spend every month, right? If there's money, there's months where money's tight, and it's like mommy and daddy didn't get pocket money either. So, it's kind of a rising tides raise all boats,
Right.
But I came up with a reward list that was instead stuff that maybe as a parent I wanted to be intentional about, but I never managed to put on the calendar. So, one of them is just like a sunset stroll. And Vi actually redeemed that last night to go for a walk with her daddy, but you get to have cocoa or lemonade. You just get to go for a walk with a parent. And helping, get to be a part of the cooking of dinner, hosting a tea party. So like all kinds of like fun, more intentional parenting stuff. So it's kind of a win-win.
The kids love to do.
Yeah.
What we find hard to put in
the
schedule.
Exactly. And then, that teaches them to just take ownership of they get up and they know what their chores are for the day. It automatically updates, and they get points for different things. And so,
well, and I think
that's helped with the transition.
I think that also is reinforcing the thing that, when you have a home, whether you're the adult in the equation or the kid, when you have a home, you do the things that need to be done that makes time available for the other things, because it's all not always about the monetary reward.
No, shouldn't be all about the money.
And because that's part of the problem. Why is because there's so much to do, and when everybo's pitching in and doing their part, one mama isn't like worn out, tired,
yeah,
and then there's room. There's that breathing space to do other things, fun things.
Sure. Yeah. So that giant rabbit trail was from transitioning children, and I think this is kind of last season. So I think kind of this conversation shifts to me more about what are my expectations, and I'd be curious to hear what are your surprises. But I've got a daughter that's turning 13 this year, and just navigating her hormonal changes and behavioral changes as she shifts into this new season of her life. It has surprised me. I don't know, actually. When I say it surprised me, I'm like, nothing really comes to mind. Like, I so far I haven't been, and I know it will be. I know it'll come, but I think I had a really rough transition to teens. Very emotional, a lot of yelling, "I hate you" at my mom and all that fun stuff.
Your dad would say that was his biggest surprise, was his sweet little girl turning into a little monster.
So dark.
I know.
Yeah. So I'm gonna see if I can play with this. There we go. That's a little light, but at least you can see us. Yeah, it's true. And so I kind of knew that was coming. And then I think about, like, I know we became best friends in my teen years. And so, as I look back to that, I anticipated, if you do it well, that odds are your kids will end up being friends as well. Now, I'm always mom first, but at least until they're adults. But it's been fun having that transition of being able to have conversations and share thoughts and opinions and stuff. And so I don't think at this point there's anything that surprised me going into teen years. But do you have anything that like maybe was unexpected or?
Well,
Go ahead.
You guys all kind of hit, there's 19 months between your brothers, and then 2 years between like second, and then you. And so it was kind of bing, bing, bing. And, kids have a tendency to kind of, even though they're not a teenager yet, they're trailing on the teenagers in the house.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I think I was anticipating so my boys were pretty calm through their teen years. I'm gonna say calm from a parent's perspective. What I saw was pretty calm. Expecting I was expecting a lot more of the, but I had rough. They were busy, and they bickered. The boys bickered a lot when they were little, and so I was expecting that would magnify and get worse because teenage boys are rebellious and mouthy, and dad's always trying to temper them because they're smack talking their mom, and there was some, but I was surprised by their temperaments. Like they had, from a parent's perspective, I know I don't always see the sibling side of things, but from a parent's perspective, they seem to like soften and mellow out. Whereas I was a little surprised. There was things in your teen years that definitely surprised me that I didn't expect, which I probably should have, because I'm sure there was same type of things that surprised my mom as well.
Right.
But I think I was going through menopause during your teen years, and so
we felt each other a little bit.
We definitely fueled each other, and maybe retrospect, that's why the boys were so mellow. They were probably scared
of all the women. Yeah. So I did think of one thing. Oh shoot. Oh yeah, I know. The appetite of my pubescent daughters. Like, I knew boys had hollow legs, but holy cow, can they put food away? I did not expect that. So that would be a surprise to me. So, when I think about transitioning, I have the perspective of, being the kid. And so when I think about transitioning to adulthood and beyond, it's, I think a lot of probably what maybe surprised you is going to be things that won't surprise me, because I lived it and I watched it. And so, I think probably this is where, like, you have more to say as as a kid through to adults, and then, from adults to, parents, and so now you're a grandparent. Like, what was some things that maybe surprised you?
Well, I think, every family dynamic is going to be different. And some families just, they have hard and fast things. Like one of your dad's friends, his mom gave him luggage for his graduation, and like he had to be out by the end of
That's wild.
that month. Yeah. So some families it's just like and she was a single mom, and I don't know what all else about her, but some families it's just like their things are decided. You are going to college, you are doing, you're going this way. They push their kids in directions. And so I think, we tended to be supportive, but open. We wanted to help our kids, find their way in the world. Yeah, we had started young and we had struggled so much. We wanted to help them, find their way. But even with that, in our minds, all those years, we thought we had our kids young, and our kids, we were going to be under 40 when all of our kids were grown and out of the house.
And therefore, would have moved out and moved on.
And that was our assumption, that they would all just move out and move on. And so then, when we got there, it was like, they did, the boys did, ding ding, got married. And as you grew, like, I thought you would be the first one, because you talked about I want to be a mommy. I want to be married. Da da da.
I had little countdown lists when
Yeah.
I was 18. Because when I turned 18, I would be getting married and having babies right away. God had different plans.
So but what surprised me in all that is that things don't always go the way you plan. You know, even when you're talking to your kids, adult, you know, you just think they're going to move on with their lives, and you know, you're going to see each other, you're going to be a part of it, but
you're going to have your own life.
But that parenting doesn't end when your kids turn 18.
Or even when they move out.
Or even when they move out. Parenting is a lifetime commitment, and I think that surprised me. I don't know that I ever really thought about how my parents, you know, as I grew. Of course, I lost my daddy when I was a teenager, and I lost
Mommy
my mama
right after you moved out.
Yeah. So I don't know that I really thought that hard about a parent's role once you're an adult.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I saw enough of it or understood it enough. And it changes. It does change, and that's, you know, you do have to shift with that. Because you're not, you step from like you said, manager to advisor. Yeah, you're kind of in the background advising, praying, ready to, you know, you have to learn how and when to offer thoughts and advice, because it's not always well received, and
to shut.
You still have to, just like you're there when your kids like take their first steps and they fall down, but you're there to help pick them back up. It's like the same thing when they're adults, because they will take those steps and
stumble.
That whole scenario, I think, really surprised me, because I just, in my mind, the kids were just going to go off and start their life and do their thing, and I was just going to be sitting back here, like, you know, doing my thing, but like, hey, we'll get together for dinner, or, and you know, our kids all left the nest, came back to the nest. You know, some left, some came back, you know, with their children, without their spouse. Some came back in with their spouse.
Some never left with their spouse.
So, it's really surprised me, the dynamic. And, you know, again, every family is going to be a little bit different, because, you know, I think, you know, some families that would never happen, because it's just, you will not be coming home once you leave. It's just, that's just the way it is. And they know they have to make it or break it, and they're on their own. And I don't know that that's heartless or, you know, cruel or anything like that, because I think it's just different. And you know, just like there's some families that will never push their kid to get out of the nest, and they'll coddle them, and, you know, mommies will do their son's laundry till they're 45, and so there's the different extremes. But yeah, it was very surprising to me. And then the other thing that I was surprised by was the friendships. That even though you're still a parent, but then you develop those friendships with your kids as adults. Because again, I had just barely got to that point where I viewed my mom as more of a friend or confidant. She's still my mom, but and so I didn't really anticipate, you know, I would have never pictured, you know, sitting down and having a cocktail with my kids. It's like, they're grown-ups now. They can have one if they want.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think from the kids' perspective, and that's why I think a lot of it, which means it'll probably be different for me. Mm-hmm. But, you know, going into it, I know that the wing spreading, I watched both my brothers, they moved out, and at different seasons they had to move back in. And, you know, I think I was really grateful for having parents that were so supportive and encouraging. And, like, you know, my dad, it was, you know, when my brothers moved back, especially with their families, it was like they helped pay for utilities. They helped pay, like, they bought their own groceries. They paid rent. So it wasn't free, and I think that's important.
Right, you're right.
You know,
yeah.
they came back, and it was like, but it was cheaper, and it just made it more doable. And
it
so
was helping them get back on their feet again, find
Right.
where their next
step was going to be. It was kind of a cheaper, safer spot to go in between. And our 2 boy cats. Oh, he's giving him kisses. Oh, that's so sweet. They had a hard morning together.
So you're not going to be surprised by.
So I don't think I'll be surprised by that. And, you know, I know about the friendship. I know. So, like, a lot of it, I feel like, I'm like, this would probably be totally different for me. But I know as a kid, and that's something that I felt like, you know, for this time of loss that has been hard, is feeling like, and I know probably everyone who's in heavy grief has said this, that theirs is different. But I know people have lost a parent. And I know people who have lost, you know, really good friends. But, you know, growing up, I mean, and I think that was, I mean, you and me became like best friends as teenagers. So, like, it's just always been there, that like deep friendship and the bond. And I was so blessed. I had parents that were stable and loving. I had a good home growing up. Like, I had a good, you know, in this scenario, my mom and dad were great. But then also as we transitioned to adulthood, they became, both of you guys ended up becoming really good friends of mine. And I didn't expect that with my dad.
We genuinely enjoyed hanging out and doing things together. And
and it was like, I mean, and I think my dad was more surprised than my mom, because you and me have been, you know, so close for so long that it didn't. But, you know, probably in the last like 5 years, maybe even more, like 8 years, my dad and I have gotten really close, you know. And so it's like, when losing him, it was like I lost my dad, but I also lost one of my best friends. And I hope for that with my kids. I hope that, you know, when they become adults and they start having children of their own, that like they genuinely enjoy. And I think that some of it is a choice as parents, because my parents, they've been supportive of my marriage to the point of calling me out, which is important, even if it's uncomfortable. Supportive of my marriage, supportive of my parenting, which means respecting the boundaries, like encouraging my kids to obey and listen, challenging me to be a better mother when they see me misstepping, but also not undermining me as a mother. And my husband, that's the last one, taking the spouse and like love the spouse well, because my parents did that. And because of that, the 4 of us, we loved hanging out together. We'd go out to dinner together. We would, you know, watch movies together. We would go to places like events together, like concerts. And we just genuinely enjoyed each other's company as adults. And I think a lot of that, as a parent, I keep that in mind. I can't control what my kids do, but I think a lot of it comes down to, as a parent, as your kids transition to adulthood, if you can successfully let them transition, because it's hard. If you can let them and still be kind and loving and supportive, like, it fosters that friendship.
Because, you know, I mean, when they, even when they're making decisions, that you, having a broader worldview, might say, I don't like the road. There's nothing wrong with, you know, pointing out to your kids, you know. I was just trying to figure out what he was doing there, because I thought he was
Get me to pee on your chair.
That's what I thought.
Oh, boys. Anyway, there's nothing wrong with expressing if you have concerns.
Yeah, but you know, I think it works a lot better, especially to for them to know that they still have that safe spot to land. That doesn't necessarily mean moving back home, but like when they like make a big blundering mistake, and that they don't feel like, I just have to figure this out, that they still have you, and, you know, whatever level that is, you know, it's like you talked about your dad. It's like, I don't know how many times we got phone calls, random, late at night, or, whatever, or in the middle, he would get calls when he was at work, like, I'm in the middle of this project and this went wrong and what do I do? And just being there for your kids. And I think they're going to be more apt to do that, to know that they can come and ask you something, to say, hey, I screwed this up, how do I fix
it
this
now when they're little?
Yeah,
like it's a lifelong thing.
Yes, for sure. But I got myself all derailed.
Oh, I think that probably what you're going with that was just that they're going to be more apt to do it if when they do it, you don't make it a big thing, right? If you're supportive and kind.
Don't, even if you have concerns with the partner that they choose to marry, I'd say be very prayerful about expressing those.
Thoughtful.
And thoughtful.
And because, how you say it when you say it and what you say.
Because that's their choice. And if you see foundational things that, hey, you guys might want to work on this, you might want to think about
some concerns.
But it will drive a wedge, and
sometimes it's kind of irreversible.
Especially if you're wrong. Especially if you're wrong.
Well, we went long today, so I feel like we made up for lost time by going like 6 minutes longer than we normally do. So, thanks for hanging out. I'd love to hear from you. Like, what is something, kind of opened it with like, what's something that surprised you about motherhood? But equally so, I think kind of another fun thing I'm curious about is, how do you see your parents, your mother especially, influence or change the way you mother? For better or worse, right? Our mothers shape and mold us, and sometimes that's, wow, I don't want to do that. I'm never going to do that to my kid. Or it's like, that was amazing, I'm going to do that with my kids for sure. So it'd be fun to hear.
And one last little surprise is grandchildren, and how especially if you get the privilege of being there for the birth of a grandchild, it's surprised me how amazing that is, to see your baby, or even if it's your daughter-in-law, right? It's your son, but
the moment they become
a parent, to be able to witness that up firsthand, close and personal, and how much that love just multiplies beyond just being a parent. So
lots of fun things. So I hope you guys have a beautiful week. I don't want to sneeze. I hope you guys have a beautiful week wherever you are, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye, friends.